And if that's the case, right? I mean, this is great. I love the idea that at risk youth
Yeah,
can
youth at
be
risk. Yes.
youth at risk, right? Can come and actually learn something from a system like this. So gaming in itself can create that system. Now, I'm wondering, right? Has there ever been a corporate group, a corporate organization that comes forward to the gym and says, let's do team building and do LAN gaming like we used to, for example? But did you manage to kind of throw a curveball at them and go, hey, actually, this is the way we could do it, which is much more beneficial to the team?
Yes, there's a couple of clients. I shall not name them,
Mm-hmm.
but I can say they are banks, corporate banks. So they have offices like in Japan, Hong Kong, uh, uh, no, not Korea, London, Singapore, as well as I think it was Malaysia and Indonesia. So it's like around the region, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and Taiwan as well. So basically, they asked, we wanted to do like what you just mentioned, a team building. Could you have any suggestion? And then we say, well, you came to the right place, and we sent them a couple of games for them to choose. End up, they came back with two titles. I don't mind sharing. Um, they played Jackbox Party,
Mm.
which is available on Steam. I would encourage everyone, yeah, to go and download it and try it out. And another one is a web shooter. I shall not mention
Mm.
the title. Yeah, so when we create like an online server, everyone they don't have to install the game. They just hop on in with the link that we gave them. They join on Discord. We created a whole Discord channel, the function in terms of admin, their staff, so and so forth, and we created like the channels, the rights, and everything. And once the whole event is done, the channel is theirs for them to use. Whether they they want to do like a office meeting and stuff like that. Of course, they still do continue to use their secured uh, uh, internal software for chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I shall not mention what is it called because it'll be too obvious. Yeah, and from that, we got very good feedbacks. They enjoyed it. Everyone was online, able to look at each other. They were laughing, they were sharing, and they were competing, with each other via some of the games that we showcase to them, guide them along. We're just basically more like the game facilitators. Yeah, so
Mm.
from doing it on site, which we have done before for another bank locally, from and going to online and doing for another bank, but in another country, and uh, that is also quite a learning point for us, where we
Right.
we group together and we're like, 2 3 days, hey, what kind of games best suit the corporates, because you don't expect them to install like a high-end game on their
Yeah.
work laptop, right? And and if it's best, no installation needed.
Right.
No,
Unless you're
if
using like
can,
NVIDIA Cloud or something.
precisely. So we sort of managed to solve those two problems,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, the rest was history. So we recorded the whole process, take a few screenshots here and there, and then we sent to our client. Yeah,
Right.
and yeah, and I want to say the client was also very nice, so no fuss.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So when you all did this, right, ultimately when the client came forward, I'd really like to understand as well on the client perspective what their objectives were for this team building session through gaming. What were they expecting and what did they want to get out of it?
Yeah, so through this, right, they wanted to improve communication. They want to improve in terms of like their bonding, because through this time itself, they are away from each other. They're not even able to go to office, right?
Mm,
And they don't usually see each other unless it's for a meeting kind of a thing. Yeah, and with like COVID itself, physical meetings is so hard to happen, and therefore this is some of the major key items that the company is looking at. And of course, definitely have fun and create a sense of unity and everyone to group together. So at the end of the day, they do give us like feedback, like, they really improve their communication together. They really improve their understanding, like, oh, I actually never met that person before.
Mm.
I get to know that him or her a little bit better. Yeah, so I guess, from the feedbacks that we got, yeah, actually it actually works.
Okay, that's really interesting. Now, if anybody is listening to this, right, I would recommend that the idea of having international offices compete in very simple web games, right, is so much better than just doing a regular Zoom town hall or Zoom meeting and we get a
Yeah.
powwow together. Hey, look, if we could allocate like a game a month, just an hour, that would be a great idea, seriously. So, okay, so hit Donald up over at thegym.gg if you are keen. All right, I'm sure that they've got plenty of ideas that can help. I'd also like to check on our gaming events here in Singapore. You know, you've seen, you've been there, you've done that. You know, you've participated in so many different gaming events and even tech events that have some relation to gaming, right? With your, you've done AR sports, you've done, you know, what was that? You were a floor official, you were a technical official at what was it? It
Sea
wasn't the
Games,
Sea
yeah.
Games, was it? Yeah, it was the
Oh,
Sea
you
Games.
mean, it's at Sea Games, Philippines? Yeah.
Yeah, correct. And you know, when you do all this, right? When we do it locally versus those that are done overseas, what's the difference between their standard and ours?
Okay, so that's a very, very good question. In terms of standard itself, some of the items and stuff definitely is way cheaper because due to how big their country is in
Right.
terms of resources.
Mm,
Singapore, we
mm,
only
mm.
have people,
Yep.
and therefore a lot of events are actually very costly. In a sense, if we want to do an event, a bulk of the so-called budget goes into the venue itself already,
Mm, yep.
and that's one of our shortfall or shortcomings for Singapore. But in terms of like network wise, we are actually one of the more stable and fastest in Southeast Asia. But
Mm,
in terms of like the planning and all, the other countries like Philippines, Malaysia, they definitely have uh, sort of a step ahead, versus us, because they have more opportunities hosting larger events, as
mm.
well as in terms of manpower. uh, they have no lack of talents and
Right.
resources, you see. Yeah, and from there, we do learn a lot, and we kind of like give each other feedbacks of what we have done. The methods and execution is definitely just slightly different in terms of how they plan out the whole thing from the start to the end, in terms of like the communications and all. But when it goes into the game rules, as well as production, is almost similar. Yeah,
Mm,
there's not like a huge difference, like, oh, I'm using this software, you're using another software. It's almost universal. Yeah, everyone is almost using the same
right.
hardware as well as software. And in terms of getting, how the event to push on, usually actually the developer so-called has the final say. Like, for example, when at C Games itself, um, for the mobile games, they actually specify, we want iPhones, and we need it to be connected to LAN, so and so forth. So the equipment is sort of like very so-called like common. Like it's a,
Right.
it like it like it's a set guideline
But
for
isn't that the
even if we
point? You
do
have
it here.
to, you have to do it as a level playing field, right? But I
Correct.
do recall that there was some, um, like say for example, I think it was MLBB. Do they bring their own mobile phones? Do the players bring their own phones?
Yes, they bring their mobile phones if only there is a backup. Yeah, if the main provided phones fails, yeah, then they will kick in with their own phones. But by bring their own phones, it also has a simple set of guidelines. It cannot be bigger than a certain size, so and so forth. Because if you're playing on a tab, you can
Right.
actually see more.
More. Right.
You can see more. So there is still a set of guidelines to follow, even though if everyone or anyone is bringing their own brand and stuff like that. Yeah, and for C games, it's pretty strict. So even if they bring their own phones, certain of their brands have to be taped up. So yeah, there's no consent for that.
Yeah, like for copyright infringement or branding or
Yeah,
or some advertising opportunity over there, right? Now,
correct.
then about the players, right? Now we talk about player standards because we have places like the gym, because we have the sports hub, right? Of course, Team Flash has their own practice facility over there, right? Over at the sports hub. Now, when it comes to that, how do Singapore players fare, and what do you think we need to get to the next step or the next level? Sorry.
Okay, so this is my opinion. Okay, I
Right.
don't speak for anyone. It's a PSA. So, um, a lot of current players lack the discipline as well as the determination. Um, what do I mean by that? Um, I encounter and I get a lot of requests like you should sponsor me, you should pay me a monthly remuneration, for me to hold your brand, to be a team. I mean, to a certain extent, it's not wrong, but uh, unless you tell me your team is so confident that you have been getting podium finishes and you have been setting the records, of course, that is what you deserve. But unfortunately, a lot of players that have this mindset, they are either starting out or they just won a local tournament, all right, a local tournament. Um, they have not even ventured out, like playing against an international team, to know where they're placing it and their stand.
Mm,
And that is very troubling because um, that shows how much of a determination and so-called a self-entitlement that the
mm,
player is looking at,
right.
and um, they don't focus on the game. They're not focusing on themselves, as well as mm, usually most of the time the teams don't go far. Like the team that I had 10 years ago, we stuck together all the way. Like, of
Mm,
course, I do jump to a couple of teams. Like when the first game came out, like CS 1.6. Before that, it's like what, CS 5.6 or something like that.
mm,
Yeah, it's when you go to LAN shops, you're still playing with a wired ball mouse and CRT monitor. Um, Everybody was very bonded, and they communicated last time. For us, we through MRC, MSN. They have groups, and there's sort of like a friendship, a brotherhood kind of a thing. like
right.
like you form friendships, and it grows stronger, and you guide each other, and you see each other, make sure that everybody gets better. But nowadays, as the thing goes, it sort of become a little bit more toxic in the sense of behavior. Like players are trying to just step on each other to get to where they want, and
Right.
that's not really a favorable thing, for us. Yeah, it's not just in
Right.
Singapore. It's happening, all over the place, and everybody sort of just want this kind of a fast track, you know
Yeah. Correct.
yeah, and be like a star kind of a thing. But they
Mm-mm.
don't see that a lot of things takes years, months,
Right.
and hard work, and build themselves to go forward. So this
Right.
is what I see that the current generation is really lacking a little.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, not many people are willing to put in the hard work, the consistency, to push themselves forward. Yeah, and to really build things. That's the main word,
Mm.
build. Yeah,
Right.
they just when the foundation is not even there. Yeah, they just think they're good, they got lucky, and yeah, they're already flying to the moon.
Right. One of the things is also because we kind of draw reference, right, to what we see, not just among our peers, but also what's on YouTube. For example, there are so many people streaming their own thing, and to some extent, right, it's doable. And because it is doable, then all of a sudden this person may feel like, hey, I can do it too. It means I can be a pro lah, you know? So it's not like back then whereby we didn't have so much reference and you really had to go against others, right? So iron sharpens iron. You guess just have to keep competing against other people to get better. And you
Yeah,
only had your
in the
team.
land center,
Yep.
you're just like, hey,
Yep.
is your team free? Let's go for a
Yep.
match now.
It's like the Green Arcade over in Korea, right?
Yeah,
Same thing. So you had to have that, but those days are over because now you play from the comfort of your own home. You can play with anybody, right?
correct.
Um, and I don't know. Somehow or other, I think this also applies to anybody in general, right? Um, if the if the mindset is to work with your team, to be able to build a team to bring you forward, right? Versus me trying to get ahead of everybody else, um, then the enthusiasm, the reason, the purpose is then not for the long run. It's not for the long haul already, and this is where everything fails. But I do agree with you to some extent. It's also impatience. You know, I let's say for example, we're no longer thinking about putting in that 10,000 hours of something to get good. Now it's just I want to get as good as I can as quickly as possible, so I can take this and have this idea that I'm gonna get my pot of gold. So the idea of
And
grit
that kind of
and
thing
hard
don't
work is
really
gone.
work. Yeah,
Mm,
I agree. And that
correct,
kind of
correct.
thing don't always work.
Yeah. And let's say, for example, if a team of kids actually just go, okay, I won't say kids, but let's say aspiring esports athletes. Yes, let's put it that way. Visit thegym.gg and they actually see, excuse me, they actually exhibit that kind of behavior. Do you have it in you? You know, do you feel that conflict? Like, I work for this, I can't scold them. At the same time, I'm an ex gamer, and I was like, get your head in the game, right? Get your head out of your ass and just get in the game. What are you doing? So do you find yourself in that position a lot?
Yes, a lot of times. And a lot of times, I just give them like a very simple word of advice. Like, if you are serious and you want to go far, I'll put a little bit of my time and effort
Mm,
to guide you guys, as well as manage. But sad to say, along the way, a lot of these teams they don't survive for more than 3 to 6 months,
mm,
and they have tons and bunch of like internal conflicts, and of course like the best player is the loudest, right? You get what I mean?
mm.
So usually like they're not making rational decisions. It's more of like the ego is speaking. You
Right,
get what I mean?
right, right.
Yeah,
I want to be the star
and
player.
yeah, correct. And end of the day is they don't see it as like I'm planning this as a team. But a lot of the decisions that I see along the way is no, I plan it as a team, but indirectly is for me, myself, and I.
Right.
Yeah, and I've been looking at the teams, some of the journeys, like on and off, it'll just pop out on my feed. I'm like, okay, good for you. You're first for now, but how long can you stay there? And then I'm like, okay, I don't wish to put you down, but fingers crossed. Let's see how it goes for the next month or the next event. And then for the next event, they're not even at podium; they just disappear.
Mm,
Like they're going on like a on and off kind of a effect, and the consistency is not there. And is based on what I've just said and what you just mentioned, all and all this kind of things that the younger ones they don't see, and yet the ego is too big, for them to like put it aside and then to ask for help.
mm,
And when you start to step in, tell them, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, and that's where it starts falling apart. Yeah, and they're not determined enough, like to push through. Like, hey, we have a shared goal, and that's what me and my guys we had it. 10 years back, we
mm,
were just playing at a LAN at Sydney Leisure, and from there, a year, 1 year, 2 years have passed, and suddenly we were just taking part in like regional tournaments, and we start appearing on like the newspaper,
mm,
because we defeated a few European teams, and we almost got signed on by Team Dignitas. but we rejected the offer because our ego was talking, and that was the foolish, really foolish thing for us to do. Yeah, but it was a lesson learned, and from there we still stuck on together. Like right now, all of them, some of them are fathers already. Definitely, and we still do talk, and we are so excited for the upcoming Battlefield 2042.
Yep.
Yeah, like we're still playing games, but not so hardcore
Competitive, right?
as yes as last time. And like what you just mentioned, putting in hours just to perfect that one skill, to make sure that I do my part. Like we will sit down at McDonald's, put down the whole map, the plans and everything. It's like people like, wow, this group of poly students or what doing homework. No, no, it's about a game. you know.
Have a real
Yeah,
battle planner.
literally. And then we were so on point. Some of our more well-to-do friends or clanmates, they bring their
Mm.
supercharged laptops, that can run the game. We just literally look in the map, and when we plan, we're like, hey, it takes 10 seconds, the fastest route from point A to point B, and this is how we'll do it. And then we will just do rehearsals again and again and again, just like in real life, before like a SWAT team
Mm.
or a group of special forces, before they storm an area, they would keep going to a mock-up area and a place to run through again and again and again, right? To make sure they memorize it, whether it's muscle reflex, muscle memory, and each and everyone has a task. If we do this and someone is down, the other guy knows what to do. The plan goes on. It doesn't just stop with one man. And that's what I see a lot of times. A lot of teams in Singapore now, they lack this.
Mm.
They're just five major superstars. I'm good. I play my own game. Okay, for a while I'll just like have some teamwork with my friends or with them. Then after that, once it's done, okay, I'm done. I'm good enough. Uh, I'm top tier in Singapore. I'm top tier in Southeast Asia, but they don't have that mindset. I want to be top tier globally. I want to be untouchable. I need to be there. I need to constantly do it in such a perfection that I have zero death this match. Or I need to make sure that my teammate doesn't die, and that is my key objective.
Mm.
And if I don't die, that is a bonus. How do I make sure I make the right decisions? How do I make sure that my muscle reflexes, my reaction, whatever that I move, doesn't cause me that mistake? And most of the time, I see such mistakes online when I look at the matches. I'm like, if it's a pro player, he can miscalculate that. You get what I mean from, like, you have your inner self like, hmm, what are these guys doing? Yeah,
Right.
and like just what you said, but we can't cross the line. We don't
Mm.
cross the line and say, hey, you should do this, you should do that. So usually it just stops there.
Right.
And sad to say, so yeah.
Yeah, you cannot have the holier than thou attitude lah, that's for sure, right? But we must also recognize, that there are levels to this game lah, in that sense, between the the beginner to the amateur to the, I don't know, semi-pro to the actual pros. I mean,
Yeah,
I've caught my own son doing this many, many times. He's 10 years old, and all of a sudden he's saying, this guy stole my kill. I'm like, it doesn't matter whether he stole your kill. Your whole
yeah,
team is winning because somebody
correct.
got that kill. So why are you upset? He said, no, he stole
Personal
my kill.
glory.
Oh, exactly. So if that starts with the 10-year-old, geez, I can't imagine how that continues to escalate.